another good day for Ukraine. Um, Russian Free Army is claiming they're going to hold ground in Russia, and Russia's really not doing anything to fight back against it. So um, we'll see where that goes. I don't think it's going to go far. I think they'll, excuse me, dealing with a little bit of a cold. I think they're going to hang out for a bit and then, exfil. It's they got to save their equipment and their men. They're low in numbers and equipment, but Ukrainian intel is giving them a lot of information. So, Budanov even said on one of my videos I posted tonight that they're helping them. So they're getting satellite information via the US and European Union. They're getting all that kind of information funneled into them. So that's a really sweet thing right there. If they were able to kind of reverse what Pooler was talking about yesterday in his victory speech, of kind of creating a buffer zone, maybe even just 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers, 20 kilometers into Russia and kind of hold that ground, that's massive. I mean, if you think about that, just the furthering of, logistics for the Ukrainian army and ability to be able to attack deeper inside of Russia would be massive. And it's not that much ground to hold. Can Pudler move his army down to kick him out? I don't know. That remains to be seen. He's spent all of his forces. Like, his best soldiers are dead. His Spetsnaz. They have obviously new recruits in Spetsnaz, but all the Spetsnaz that were true special forces, they're all dead. They're all dead. They died in Ukraine. He has no legitimate mass of troops or special forces to resist this. He only has Mobics, as Europe and Eastern European calls them. We call them mobilized. Will mobilized be able to do this, to kick battle-hardened troops out of Belgorod? I don't know. That's gonna be something to see. So we'll see what their plan is moving forward. I mean, obviously, we know what they've stated. We know that they're taking town after town, and Belgorod is a major hub for Russia. I mean, for recruits. If you listen to the interviews coming out from captured Russians, many of them go through Belgorod. So that's kind of like a funnel into Ukraine. And it's also a hub where they're launching, shelling, and doing subversive actions against Ukraine from there. So Belgorod and that whole region, almost north of there, going, and then even south of there, going down, is massive. If Ukraine can take a slice of that territory, like I said, maybe up to 20 kilometers, that's massive, and hold it, and not only hold it for wartime uses, logistical uses, and whatnot, but hold it for a bargaining chip. We hold your territory. I mean, you start moving Ukrainian troops into there. If the Free Russian Army can hold this, actually, this becomes a huge headache for Putler. A huge headache. And not only that, the Free Russian Army, which consists of about 3 different units, they're not huge in numbers right now. 3 different units, one of which is really sketchy, and that's why I don't talk about them. But they're still fighting against Putler's government and army. So if you can get them to hold a stretch of Russian territory, say 20 kilometers, that's huge. Even if it's 10 kilometers, that's huge. It's demoralizing to Putler. They're also going to start gaining more and more and more recruits of Russians who are saying our government can't protect us. Why? Like, why are we don't like them anyways? And they're going to come on the side of the Free Russian Army. So there's many facets of this that are very positive. So we're going to have to see how this pans out. It's very positive either way. It's very positive. I mean, they've been there now for, dare I say, 8 days. That's a lot of time. I mean, any of you in your respective countries, you haven't had an invading foreign army come and occupy your territory for the most part for over a week. So we're going to see where this goes. Positive news. Positive news. So as you guys saw on our posts, Lindsey Graham visited Kiev today. Zelensky was super professional, super positive. So was his staff. You know, Lindsey Graham is throwing his support behind Trump. Where I cut with him is with Russia. Russia is our enemy and has been our enemy for my entire life. Okay, I grew up in the Cold War. My first memories were under Ronald Reagan, who I view as the best president this country has ever had. I am a Republican, but I am not MAGA. I view MAGA as a fringist party hijacking the Republican Party. Republicans, true Republicans, want to work with their Democratic colleagues to get things done, because that's the only way things happen in America. Okay? When you don't work with your colleagues, you see what happens now in terms of Ukraine. You have this little no-name man in charge of Congress who's responsible for hundreds of deaths every day now in Ukraine because he's a patsy and he's doing what a candidate, and the candidate is Trump, is telling him to do. To hold up, stall, delay, and deny funding to Ukraine. Ronald Reagan literally is turning over in his grave. There is absolutely zero justification for this. Even if you are against funding to Ukraine, they're a democracy fighting against, for you older folks, we'll say communism, because that's really what Putler is in disguise. It's a dictatorship who tries to swallow every country around them. And they have done so since the Second World War. They are fervently against democracy, the United States, NATO, the European Union, and every civilized country in the world. And don't forget, NATO is a defensive alliance. NATO, if you read their doctrine, they are defensive, okay? And they're defensive against Russian aggression. That's the only reason they were established, is to defend the bloc against Russia, Stalin, whoever. You know, Putler has now been in power longer than Stalin has. He's the longest serving dictator in Russian history. And look what is happening in the world. So, when it comes to me trying to justify myself to you all as a Republican, the border's a problem. The border's been a problem for 45 years. And nobody cared to put their foot down until now, when we are, as a world community, in the midst of a potential World War III. And all of a sudden, Republicans want to put their foot down. We've controlled the House as Republicans many, many, many times. Nothing's happened. Okay? This is appeasement for Putler. Okay? The border can be corrected, and we can 1,000% absolutely defend Ukraine at the same time. So when I tell you guys, I'm done with Trump. Yeah, I'm done with Trump. I'm done with it. He seems, at least in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion, maybe many share it, he seems to look up to dictators more than he looks up to democratic leaders. He has an affinity for power and men that make their populations submissive to their rule. That is not America. And as much as I hate the woke, which I talked about earlier, and as much as Biden is completely incompetent, completely, I don't even think he knows what day it is half the time. And I've talked about it on the channel. In my opinion, it's more dangerous having a man let Russia, and he's even said it in his own words, if you don't pay your bills, Putin should have his way with you. And you can call that hyperbole. You can make all the excuses you want. But those are words from a former president, from possibly the next president, that resonate around the world. They affect global economies. They affect, and they really change governmental decisions in a lot of ways. You know, Pooler hearing that is only emboldened. So whether he means it or not, he's doing an absolute tragedy and disservice to the world and to the Ukrainian people. You can't justify this. There is no way. You know, in sports, I live in America, and we see NFL players score a touchdown and freak out with celebration. And what do the coaches always tell them? Act like you've been there before. You know, there needs to be a sense of decorum, and there is a long history of decorum from politicians, international politicians, presidents, and such. And this man just says things that are absolutely outrageous. And it's not funny. MAGA is a very small percentage of this country, okay? There's nothing funny about it. There is no world leader in this world who agrees with this man and thinks it's funny. All it does is embolden our enemies, such as North Korea, such as Putin, such as Iran. You can go down the line. All it does is embolden them. And all it does is drive our allies further away from trusting America. And America as the beacon of hope. Shit's got to end, you know? And it's probably going to take 2 election cycles, because we're going to get possibly either a radical Putler supporter in, or a person who's controlled by the woke left wing. And America needs to get back to the middle. Not to the left, not to the right, back to the middle, where we can have a discussion. And not only a discussion with ourselves, a discussion with our friends around the world, and a relationship with our friends around the world, a mutual benefiting relationship with our friends around the world, which stabilizes the world, not only from a security aspect, but from a monetary aspect. And we are not there right now. And neither one of these choices are going to do that. In my opinion, one choice is a lot more dangerous than the other. I will not give my vote as an American veteran, as an American citizen, as a person supporting democracy, to Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin supports Trump. There is a reason for that. Think about it. I love you guys.